Okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't fucking mute it this time. Seems the way I hold the phone when I do these. My thumb just naturally kind of floats over the mute button. But just like this morning, I guess I'll wait till see if anybody shows up before I start repeating what I said this morning. Gets a little tiring repeating the same shit over and over again, whatever. Come on, girlie. We're just redoing the stream from this morning. Got Goose with me. I didn't realize I had my thumb over the mute button. No, Ryan, I typically do 2 walks a day, right? Now Goose is a little lazy. Although we're heading into the cooler season, so she's more like when it's really hot, she doesn't really want to go out a second time. And I don't blame her. But when the weather's like this, she's all about it. Which, by the way, I know you responded. I still have to respond to the last thing you said in that comment thread. I'm all caught up on comments except for yours, Ryan. I just need to respond to yours. Just haven't gotten to it yet. There are a bunch of people commenting on the new video I posted. But it sucks. I appreciate everybody joining. I did a stream this morning and I didn't realize it, but the way I hold the phone when I live stream, my thumb is like right next to the microphone button, and I guess I accidentally touched the mute. And there was no audio. I wish somebody had told me, because there was like 20-something people in the room. But somebody finally told me at like 46 minutes. And after that, I'd already said everything I needed to say, Well, yeah, the grooming thing's nuts. But no, the one I posted this today regarding a video Mark Dubose posted, a really good clip that he got about dominance. Oh, did you? That's okay. You didn't miss nothing because, like I said, it was muted majority. I said everything I wanted to say, and then I discovered that I was fucking muted the whole time. But yeah, it's an important topic, and it's so we got a couple people in here, so I guess I'll get rolling on it. But I was saying this morning, because I was commenting on, it's amazing to me. Yeah, I said it to the clouds for sure. It's amazing to me how the because Zach George, his stuff pops into my Facebook feed, because I don't even follow him, but it's just sponsored stuff, so it just pops up into my shit. So this post pops up, and he's training this dog to stay, and of course Zach George is always using treats. Right? So all I did was comment, okay, now do it without treats or tools. And, I didn't say anything offensive, but it's incredible to me how the all positive people are some of the most hateful, vitriolic people you'll ever meet. So all I said was, okay, do it without treats or tools, and everybody's just starts coming with the insults and the mudslinging, and oh, you don't know what you're doing if you don't do it with treats. It's like, all right, first of all. But all right, we got a bunch of kids in a car, so. But it's incredible to me, some of the shit that people will say, when how's it going, guys? Come on, girl, let's go. passing some kids here. Come on. But it's incredible to me how the all positive people, they're so angsty, hateful, insulting to just people who disagree with them. And the thing that I don't understand is that they automatically assume that if you say something against what they preach, you're automatically part of the balanced crowd or whatever. It's like politics, where if you say you disagree with something like a Democrat or Republican does, people automatically say, oh, you must be on the other side. Well, shut the fuck up. How about you think critically for a moment? No, I'm not a balanced dog trainer. I don't agree with them either. You know, two things can be true at once. So then they started to assume that I was a Robert Hines sock puppet account, or I was a Robert Hines clone, and I was like, oh God, here we go. So then I posted I'm like, listen, I have many videos on Robert Hines. Like you could clearly see that see that I'm not fucking Robert Hines. Let's see. Yeah, because guys, he wants to punish me. Exactly right. No, it's okay, Ryan. You weren't. That wasn't the sole focus of what you were trying to do, right? But as someone had pointed out this morning, you know, that's what people naturally go to, because that's the mainstream advice is get a bag of treats and this is how you train your dog. You know, that's what's pushed in the mainstream. So it's all people know. Right, yeah, and unfortunately that's just the way it goes, Ryan. I always say, you know, everybody with a dog and a keyboard thinks they're an expert anymore. You know, everybody with a fucking poodle's got an opinion, and they think they know better because they got a goddamn Shih Tzu. It's like, okay. Dog Bertarian? What do you mean a dog Bertarian? Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say that, Ryan. No, I just because here's the thing: is both the positive reinforcement and balanced people, they both do agree on one thing, and that's learning theory. And that's what I was being attacked for too, is people saying, well, wait a minute, you don't know you don't know anything about respondent learning or operant conditioning. But and I'm like, guys, I don't live in this world. I don't live in this learning theory bullshit world. But they can't think. Their brains can't comprehend that there's something outside of that somebody can get quick results with a dog without this shit. It breaks their brains. They don't understand it. Yeah, and I'll get into it, I guess, now, Ryan, because what I was saying this morning is the reason I don't use it, because I had pointed this out too. I said, listen, anybody can grab a bag of treats and get a dog to do something, get a dog to perform in order to get what it wants, which is the food. I said a 6-year-old could fucking do it. It doesn't mean anything. I said, but to get a dog to listen to you out of respect for you is a completely different matter. And so my problem with immediately jumping to the treat bag, because I get people that call me all the time for help, and they'll say, oh, we took Petco classes, we took the PetSmart obedience training classes. And I always ask them the same thing. I always say, do you think the Petco or PetSmart obedience classes, do you think it helped you at all? Do you feel like you got something out of it? They always say no. I'm not a single person that took those obedience treat-based PetSmart or Petco classes tell me they got anything out of it. But they always say, like, oh, the dog's older now, and the dog just doesn't listen. So I always ask the same question. I said, well, I assume then that the dog will probably listen for the treat, but when you don't have it, the dog doesn't give a fuck. And they say, yeah, the dog won't listen unless I have a treat. Well, this is the problem. When you rely on the treats to get the dog to do something, and then you no longer have the treat, well, why should the dog listen to you? Because you've already set a precedent in the dog's mind that, rather than it being an interaction straight from you to the dog, you're putting something in between, right? You are now trying to motivate that dog with something you believe it wants, treat, toys, whatever, rather than motivating the dog on a social level, right? The dog should listen because it perceives you a certain way and it wants to follow you. Well, how do you get there if you're constantly using treats to bribe the dog into doing what you want it to do? The dog will gladly do what you want to get what it wants. But once you remove the treats, I always say, like, if the dog will listen to you when you have the treat but won't listen to you when you don't have it, well, that tells you, that's revealing the truth of the nature of the relationship that you have with that dog. That's the truth of how that dog perceives you. Dog's basically saying, well, fuck you, you don't have a treat, I'm gonna do what you say. Why should I? Right, Ryan, is, some people just, they don't understand. Most of the people in this dog community, they just regurgitate the same shit that they hear everybody else say. They don't think critically about it themselves. They don't have the experience with hundreds of dogs, to be able to separate the bullshit from the valuable information, or to be able to create their own perspective on things. That's why I always say, like, because people like Robert Hines, when I first started interacting with him, he'd always say, well, who's your mentor? Well, where did you learn this from? And I always say the same thing. The dogs teach me. I didn't learn from anybody, with the exception of watching a lot of, Cesar Millan and Brandon Fouché. But I didn't have a mentor. I learned from dog to dog to dog to dog. And so you create a different picture, when you're kind of just, when you're not simply trying to repeat what the last person told you, when you're in this mode of trial and error. I've done a lot of experimenting with dogs, and Ryan, I've had my share of failure, man. You learn from failure. I think you learn more from your failure than from success, Yeah, I've never treats on walk. Like, I've never had treats on a walk. I've just never. I don't know. Never saw the point. Right. But so, like, if you have a dog and that's what you've been doing, you've been using treats to get it to do things, I would encourage you, just experiment. Remove the treats, see what happens. Will the dog still do what you want? And then you have these people that say, well, you got to pay the dog. I don't understand. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You got to pay the dog. Really? Can you show me a video? Please, scour the internet. Show me one example of two dogs using food, toys, whatever, to motivate each other, to get each other to do what they want, or to not do what they want. Can anybody show me two dogs interacting that way? You can't, because it doesn't fucking exist. So why do we do it? This whole idea of positive reinforcement these are human concepts, right? In the animal world, the canine world, the communication is the most dominant dog is going to tell the other dogs what it does not like, and everything in between is acceptable. That's the communication. It's very clear and concise. It's very simple. It's easy to understand. Hey, if I do this thing, that dog over there is going to come after me for it. So I know not to do that thing. But everything else, well, he never went after me for doing X, Y, and Z, so it's all good, right? Pretty easy to understand. Yeah, paying the tree tax. Right. Exactly. But I like to. I was pointing to the example earlier of like, has anyone seen the SeaWorld documentary? It's a fascinating documentary. It came out probably like a decade ago. But it was basically, you're talking about these whales at SeaWorld, right? And you're talking about the highest level of like positive reinforcement training. And yet these orcas, you see what's going on behind the scenes. These orcas are killing trainers. They're killing each other. These orcas have serious issues. They're miserable. Now, of course, a lot of that's because they're living in captivity too. But if the positive reinforcement was so effective, now here's the thing though: you go to a SeaWorld show and everything looks great. It's a great show. It's entertaining. It looks perfect. But underneath all that is a lot of ugly shit. So why is that? Maybe that's not how animals are supposed to, because they want to say this is like animal behavior 101. This is behavioral science. Really? Is it? Because those animals don't look too fucking happy. And that's the cream of the crop when it comes to the science of positive reinforcement. Right? Then, of course, they brought that shit into the dog world, and it's just been a fucking mess ever since. But I have, if anyone is filming my channel, Grizzy, the Chocolate Lab, he was a great example of when his owners first, before they hired me, they hired an all positive treat based guy, and they texted me like a day or two after he came, and they said this has made the dog worse. His advice to them, shoving treats down, their advice was, well, wait for Grizzy to not attack you and then give him a treat. And they said, well, he got more and more pushy about the food, and then when they ran out of treats, he just flew off the fucking handle. He went apeshit. So you can create an entitled, demanding dog with food. I had a client, it was an awesome session. It was a really, really big golden retriever named Otis. And they were telling me that they would take Otis. Oh, we got soccer. Yeah, the soccer and football, the kids are back in school now, so we got soccer, football, all this shit going on right now. But they were telling me that before they called me, they were taking Otis to like these day classes where it was like the type of training where you drop the dog off in the morning, they work on the dog all day, and then you pick it back up, right? Well, they said Otis would come back at night, and sometimes he would throw up. And when he would throw up, it was just like this mountain of treats, mountain of like kibble. They were giving him so many fucking treats. He started throwing up. So, health-wise, how is that good for your dog? You're constantly giving that dog treats. How's that healthy for the dog? To the point where this dog was throwing up. It's absurd. Once you die 3 times, right? Holy shit. Right. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, and I have a my policy is like if I go to somebody's home for a session, if I can't produce results for you in the time that I'm there, then I don't take your money. But yeah, if somebody actually is like causing harm to your dog, fuck yeah, they should be paying for that. It's ridiculous. But I have often thought this too, like these people that promote treat training, I find it to actually be disrespectful to the animal. It's like, do you really think that little of a dog that you have to wave shiny bits in front of their face to get them to do something? Like, do you think they're that stupid? do you have that little respect for the animal that like would you not feel patronized if people did that to you? Like you're a dumb animal who could just be swayed by bribery? It's like you think that little of me that you could just, like see, dogs aren't stupid. Dogs will exploit. Dogs will manipulate you. But it's your fault. You've established that precedent. You have shaped that perception. Because it's not rooted in respect then. It's rooted in, well, the dog's like, well, fuck, I'll just do what I need to do to get more of this. This dude's like a fucking food dispenser. I'll do the sit, stay, come, whatever. It's because I want that fucking food, man. Well, Ryan, that those are temporary measures, right? That was ultimately supposed to be a temporary thing just to get to the other side, right? That was not meant to be a permanent thing, right? The using the crate was not a long-term thing. It's just a way to help you introduce more structure and to help balance her out. And then once it's no longer needed, you don't have to worry about keeping her in there during those periods of time. Right, yeah, no one wants to be fucking patronized. I want the best out of my dog. So I'm going to go about things in a way which fosters, which nurtures, cultivates the highest level of a bond that I can build. If you had a kid that was talking shit to you, maybe back talking you, disrespectful, you wouldn't be pulling $5 out of your pocket every time the kid was mouthing off to you just to get him to do what you want him to do. You would never build respect, in the eyes of the child. You would make the problem worse. So why do we do it to our dogs? Especially when they have behavioral problems. Anybody's new to my channel, well, it's hard to say, Ryan, because it's one of those things where unless I can see, like one of the benefits I have when I go to somebody's home. Looks like we got a dog coming up behind us. When I go to somebody's home, is I get to see all the little details. Goose, come on, girl. I get to see how everybody's interacting with the dog. I get to see how the dog is behaving in its natural environment. Right? So then I can pick it apart and I can address every little thing that they're doing that's not allowing the dog to relax and calm down. Yeah, that's okay, right? You can't record 24 hours a fucking day. It's not feasible, right? It's not gonna happen. Need a break? All right, come here. Come here. We'll let that dog pass. Yeah, you tried, man. Ryan, you gave it your best shot, man. Right? See, I didn't tell her to sit. I never taught Goose to sit. It's just something she does on her own, Right, there'd be some kind of consequence. All right, we got multiple dogs here. Let's see how this shakes out, guys. Let's see what happens here. As you can see, Goose don't give a fuck. We got multiple dogs over here, which I love. I love when dogs show up. See, Goose is interested, but she ain't gonna do nothing. Right? I love it when she makes that face. It's the best face in the world. How you doing? Yeah, you see the hackles. All right, girl, come on, let's go. Yeah. Come on, girl, let's go. You see that dog doesn't want to stop. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Is the dog already gone, Ryan? Like, were you able to pass information on to anybody? Or did you just take her? The shelter take her back? Yeah, we still got this dog in front. Sorry about the glare, guys. I'm trying to keep the sun out of the lens. What's up, OT? Hey, appreciate you joining for the evening, man. Oh, good, good, good. Yeah. No, I would have done the same thing, man. I'm sure they can find her a good home, Ryan. Especially with some extra information. Yeah, OT, I did a stream this morning, but I had I accidentally muted it, so I'm just kind of repeating what I said earlier. Um, but I like to make the analogy too. I make the analogy. It's similar to this idea of people that believe that you need to motivate your dogs with objects, treats, toys, whatever. I like the analogy of, say, as a man, you take a woman out on a date, and rather than just making it a man to woman interaction, you you put a bunch of shit in between. Right, so let's say you buy flowers, you take her out to some fancy dinner, like you've never met this person before. Let's say you met her online or something. You're like, oh, I'll take you out to dinner. Then you show up with flowers and all this bullshit. It's like you're so desperate for that person to like you, but you'll never get respect that way. And it's almost like a bribe for a woman's affection or sex or whatever. It's not the right way to go about things. You're putting all this shit in between that doesn't need to be there, and it only serves to hurt the potential outcome, right? Which, if a woman's truly interested in you, you just saying, hey, meet me here at this time, we're gonna do this, should be enough for her to be like, hell yeah, I'm in, let's go. You don't need dinners and flowers and all that bullshit, right? So then you know the truth of the matter. Same with your dog. Like if my dog don't want to listen, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll get the treats, and then the dog gets off his ass to do what you want. Well, that's the truth of the matter, or the truth of the relationship you have. It says everything you need to know. That dog doesn't fucking respect you. And I'm sorry, but respect does not live in the four quadrants. The four quadrants of learning. Where does respect live in the four quadrants? It doesn't. Right? Absolutely, Ryan, who you are. Absolutely. Absolutely. On the strength of who you are. Right, I think it would just taken some time, Ryan. But I understand it was causing ill effects to your health. So if anybody's new to the channel, I make the distinction between training and behavioral issues, right? This is also another reason I don't use treats, is because if I have a dog with behavioral problems, and those behavioral problems are of a social nature, then why would I try to put training concepts onto something that has nothing to do with training? Like, say I got an aggressive dog. What's me waving a bunch of treats in front of that dog's face trying to get it to sit, stay, calm? Well, what does any of that have to do with the root cause of the aggression? It doesn't have anything to do with it. Why would I approach that from a position of learning and trying to motivate it with food when the root cause of that aggression is usually one of two things: insecurity and fear, or dominance? In either case, right? Like any good doctor, you have to address the root cause. But like, say for Grey Goose, I've never trained Grey Goose, right? We're not talking about skills. We're talking about the perception the dog has of you, right? Goose follows me because she wants to, because I've demonstrated good leadership. She can rely on my leadership. I don't need to use food to get her to follow me. She willingly does it. right? So you don't, like, I don't have to say anything to Goose, right? Just like two dogs don't have to say anything to each other. There's different communication happening here, right? You know, but I did not achieve this with treats, toys, anything. It's all the understanding of the social wiring of the animal. Right, girl? That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's all right, Ryan. You know, you start with what you got. You know, who knows how long that would have taken. I think there was one other thing I wanted to say on the topic, and I can't remember what it was. On the subject of treats. I think I might have already said it, but it's, if you start on that foot, right, you are creating an expectation from the dog that, okay, if I do this thing, this is what I get. And so if that becomes a habit, then you'll reach a point where the dog will become expectant of it, and when the dog doesn't get it, the dog now becomes demanding. So I'm sure somebody has had it happen where maybe you've gotten into the habit of every time you let your dog out and it comes back in, you give it a treat. And maybe you've been doing that for months or years. And then one day maybe you don't have any treats. And then you let the dog in, and the dog is looking at you like, where's my fucking treat? And you don't have any. Now the dog starts barking at you. Right? Well, it's because the dog now feels entitled to that treat. It's like, where's my fucking treat? You don't have it? Well, okay, now the dog's going to express the fact that it really does not like the situation, and it's demanding you give it what it wants. Well, this is why we want to avoid these things. You don't want to set those precedents. It's like if you've ever had a friend or known somebody who likes to ask to borrow money all the time, and maybe you're too nice or whatever, and you're constantly loaning them money, and they say they'll pay you back, but they never pay you back, right? Well, now every time that person's in a pinch, they'll just be like, I can call so-and-so, he always gives me money. So they just rely on you for the money because they know you're a pushover, and you just give it to them whenever they need it. But if one day you decided, you know what, no more of this shit, and you told them no, and you need to pay me back for all the fucking money I've given you so far, you're going to get a very different response, right? Because now you're establishing a boundary. Boundaries are much more important than treats. Boundaries. I cannot tell you how important boundaries are for dogs. I'll take a boundary over a treat 1,000 times out of 10. Yeah, it's all cause and effect, man. Definitely. Appreciate everybody showing up. Appreciate everybody, people liking the video. Thank you. It means a lot. Definitely helps the video algorithm, whatever. But it's school just started, so now we got the kids out here practicing for sports and whatever. But if you're just tuning in, I'd recommend, so let's say you have a dog that maybe you're using treats to get it to do something, I'd recommend just take the treats away for a little bit, see what happens, right? See what the dog does. But okay, there's one more thing I wanted to say about it. You can end up creating a superficial picture, right? How you doing? Over here. And what I mean by that is people they buy into this idea that, okay, if I wave a piece of food in front of the dog's face and I tell it to sit and it sits, or I tell it to stay and it stays, or I call it to me and it comes when I have the treat, then this means that the dog is learning what it is I want from it. The dog is understanding. They assume that this means there's improvement being made. Now, when it comes to those particular skills, if you do them correctly, yeah, that's true. But if you have a dog that has behavioral problems, how does that help? It doesn't. Like, say, for instance, if I have a dog where I put a bowl of food down and it tries to bite my fucking hand off over it, how does me waving a treat in front of that dog's face, trying to get it to sit, stay, come, whatever, how does that help that particular situation? It doesn't. Or if I have a dog that's nipping at my kid's heels or attacks guests and I try to, quote, train it with food, how does that help? It doesn't. Sounds like we got a drone. You hear that? You hear the drone? It's like I say, listen, when you build a certain kind of relationship with your dog, you hear that? Yeah, Goose is like, what the fuck is that noise? It's the drone. She's like, what is that? When you build a certain relationship dynamic with your dog and everything is lined up correctly, you could do whatever you want. Like, I share food with Goose all the time, my food. She don't demand it from me. It doesn't cause problems. Right? She sleeps on the bed. She got privileges on the furnace. She, like, everything's... You can have your cake and eat it too, you know? Right, girl? How you doing? So when you reach that point, though, life becomes easy. Life is smooth. Life is easy. And as I say, rules and boundaries which are consistently enforced become expectations. So when you have reached a level where you are consistent about the rules and boundaries you have established, and you build those expectations, that's like the new standard default of the dog's operating system, the dog's default behavior. Because now the dog knows what to expect from you, and the dog knows what you expect of it. Right? So you don't at that point you don't really have to do anything. Everything becomes all positive at that point because you don't have any problems. There's no friction. There's no power struggles between you and the dog. The dog's not trying to engage in power struggles to get power or to establish itself as the authority. None of that happens. The dog's not disrespecting you or violating the rules or crossing those boundaries. And disciplining a dog becomes extremely easy. I wouldn't even call it discipline at that point. It's more or less like you're just communicating to the dog to let it know, hey, don't do that, or this is what I need you to do. And the dog just fucking does it. It's not, it ain't even a thing, you know? Right, girl? Ain't even a thing. But appreciate everybody joining. I think I said everything I basically said this morning. Trying to remember. Otherwise, if anyone has any questions about anything, feel free to ask. Sounds like we got a dog barking over here. And if there's anything I'm forgetting, maybe I'll do a video or Oh, that is one other thing I want to mention. Is people on social media, the majority of people do use treats or toys to quote train dogs, right? So they can make things look very good on social media. Just like the SeaWorld show. Looks great during the show. But of course, we can edit things, we can hide things. I can get the dog to perform for me. Oh, it looks great. Dog's performing. Hey, this is a well trained dog, right? Well, yeah, because you got fucking food in your hand. But there are very few people that I've encountered that do anything without a treat pouch on their hip, right? And so if you can't communicate effectively to a dog with just you, well, I would say there's still some learning you need to do. But think of it this way too. Think how much money you'd save on fucking treats if you never needed them anymore, right? Who wants to endlessly spend money on fucking treats? I don't, and you don't need to. It's a great way to sell products. These people that do it, they got pet product sponsors. They sell different brands of treats. A great way to sell shit. You get people to buy into this idea that they need it because, well, this is how the dog learns. The dog's never gonna learn a behavior unless you reinforce it. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Right, and that's another thing. I may have mentioned it. I'm gonna let Goose in real quick. I want to say this one last thing. All right, girlfriend, go on. I want to say this one last thing. It's about behavior. So, I hate it when I hear people talk about behavior because it's very superficial, right? I teach my clients that people put too much focus on a dog's behavior, but they don't ever pay attention to the state of mind. So, for instance, if you tell your dog to sit, the dog sits. You might assume, okay, the dog is behaving the way I want. The dog sat when I told it to. But if once that dog sits, it's still barking at you because it's demanding something from you, or it's still stressed the fuck out or anxious or maybe growling at you. Well, the dog sitting doesn't mean anything. What you want is for a dog's behavior and state of mind to come into alignment where you don't need to tell a dog to sit or go down because a dog will naturally sit and lay down if you utilize spatial pressure, um, your tone of voice, eye contact, all of you establish boundaries the correct way. A dog will sit and lay down on its own. You don't have to tell it to. But then from there, that's not enough for me. I want to see that the dog's state of mind is also, like I said, coming into alignment where, okay, that dog sits and lays down on its own. And then you see the dog start to relax. And maybe let's say I have a bowl of food on the ground. Maybe at first when the dog's being pushy about it, maybe it's trying to get to the food. Now the dog is showing that, okay, I don't have the intent to move forward to get this food anymore. And the dog just relaxes, put its head down, or it's giving you its attention. Well, now the state of mind and the behavior are coming into alignment. That would be the appropriate moment where, if you were, say, claiming food, then you can give the dog the food. But it's not enough for that dog just to be sitting or laying down. It's not good enough. That says nothing about where the dog is mentally, or the dog showing any indication of its perception of you changing. Yeah, definitely, OT. The state of mind is always. I don't hear many people talk about that. Deer poop. Yeah, actually, my previous two dogs, yeah, they like some deer poop, rabbit pellets too. But I've heard, I don't know, I've read that rabbit pellets actually is kind of just like something dogs eat. You know, when rabbits poop, it's like they break down the fibers in like the plants they eat, and those like good bacteria on it. I don't know, there's a whole spiel on it, but um, just something I noticed. I think I'd rather have my dogs eating deer poop than fucking dog poop. So, given what the average dog eats, you know what I mean? Um, but no, I was saying earlier for those of you that just showing up to the stream when I was commenting on this Zach George post, and just because I said okay, now do it without treats or tools, they assumed I was a Robert Hines clone, or they assumed I was a Robert Hines sock puppet. Like, I was like, God damn it. You can't win with I said, and then when I tried to explain to them that, well, you know I largely disagree with Robert Hines, but I do agree with him about the no treat. It's for very different reasons. But it fascinates me that people, especially in this dog world, they can't seem to fathom this idea that you can agree with somebody on one or two things and then largely disagree with everything else. Like, you don't have to agree with everything they fucking say. Or if you watch their videos, it doesn't mean you agree with everything they fucking say. Or if you have them on a podcast, it doesn't mean you agree with every fucking thing they say. I don't understand that. Yeah, definitely. Definitely tell. Well, it's short attention spans, or they're misreading it, or they don't know how to read it, or it just completely flies over their head, or they don't have the patience to sit there with it and wait for the dog to relax, right? Patience is a big big thing when working with dogs. Yeah, I watch people I don't agree with all the time, for sure, OT. And people that I vehemently disagree with, I do agree with them. There are, like, I agree with Robert Hines on some things. I agree with Dale McCluskey on you know the core message of what he says. I agree with even the force free people. There are things I agree with. Hell, I've even heard things Zach George has said that I agree with. I fucking can't stand Zach George, but I can acknowledge when somebody says something correct or something I agree with. You don't have to throw the baby out with the fucking bathwater just because you don't like somebody. I mean, to me, that's intellectually dishonest. You know what I mean? I wish people wouldn't fucking do that. It only contributes to this cult-like mentality, this tribalism people have. It's like, can't you just be objective about things and say, like, okay, I agree with this. Uh, you know, I agree with that, but I don't agree with this, and that. You don't even have to like the person, but you can agree. You can give credit where credit's due. Right, right, and that's just the way you do it, OT. But I mean, it sounds like you got a good thing going with your dogs, to begin with. Shit, phone call. So once you've established those things correctly, yeah, you can play with your dogs and compete. It's all in good fun. Yeah, but yeah, you have rules for it. Right. There's nothing wrong with that, OT. Like, and even on my channel, like, I talk about how I don't recommend people play tug of war with the dog if you have behavioral problems. But if those things have been resolved and you've got a good, consistently smooth thing with your dog, then whatever, play tug of war with it. I play tug of war with Goose sometimes. It ain't gonna hurt nothing if everything is the way it should be. It's just when you have a lot of issues, I wouldn't recommend doing it. I wouldn't start there. It's not a good starting place. You can end there. I wouldn't start there. Definitely. Appreciate everybody showing up. Pretty much I've said everything I needed to say. I didn't mute it on accident this time, so So that's good. Didn't fucking accidentally mute the stream. Right, right. Yeah, and if you have dogs like that, especially the aggressive one, I do not recommend tug of war with those dogs. Ain't the time or place for it. And I know you'll hear the Larry Crones and the the Ivan Balabanovs. They you know they'll swear by it. And hey, whatever, do whatever you want. I wouldn't do it. I go about things in a much different way. But like I said, you can the end result can be like, hey, you play tug of war after at a certain point. Um, but it wouldn't even enter my mind to if I had an aggressive dog, I wouldn't even be thinking about tug of war. Hell no. I was like, I always think of like my boy Bruno, and I think about the things I hear other people say, and I'm thinking like, you would have never lasted a week with Bruno. Like, oh, you think we would have played tug of war with him? I would solve the problems? Fuck no. Oh, you would have waved some treats in front of him and solved the problems? Hell no. God damn. No. Yeah, yeah, it can, because it's you're promoting competition, and you're promoting the idea in the dog's mind that it can challenge you for something. And if you have a dog that already maybe has a dominant personality and is aggressive out of dominance, why would I want that dog to get the idea? It already believes it can challenge me. Why would I want to reinforce? Why would I want to further that belief in the dog? Right? Hell no, I wouldn't. I'm gonna move the other way. Yeah, that could be a recipe for disaster, OT, because that's how like you said in the video I just posted, where you said play, and you're totally right. You say play. Is one thing for because we got a few people in the room, so I just want to something to take note of, that when two dogs are playing, you know, their dominance is always present, right? And two dogs playing with each other, play is a way for dogs to establish rank. It's playful, but there's always that level of competition or that level of dominance in there somewhere. And so this is why when you have two dogs that play, it seems innocent at first, but sometimes it can escalate to a fight, right? And that's how that happens. It's because there's a lot of subtext in play, a lot of things that go people just don't even realize is happening. They think it's all good fun, but for the dogs, it's not so much. But to what you're saying, OT, yeah, you get one dog that's way too excitable, and the other one that is very impulsive, and you got those dogs playing tug of war, and it escalates, and yeah, you can have a big problem on your hands, for sure, definitely. Yeah, they'll feed off. Yeah, they'll influence each other for sure, definitely. Yeah, yeah, it'd be good. Like if you have a dog, two dogs of such, their the size difference is so great. Yeah, I mean, I always supervise play anyway. It's just a good thing to do when you have multiple dogs. Just always supervise the play, especially when you got like a Corso and a Boston Terrier. Yeah, I would definitely be supervising it for sure. Because even when things are going well, like you don't want, sometimes the Corsos can get a little excited and maybe they accidentally, you don't want to run the risk of them like stepping on the dog or something like that, for sure. Well, everybody, I don't know. I think I've said what I need to say about the topic. Anybody has anything they want to say or any questions or anything, feel free to ask. I'm gonna end the stream here in a minute. Appreciate everybody showing up. Appreciate everybody, the people that like the video. Thank you. It means a lot. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what that's like. Yeah, I don't think um I've never been stepped on by a Corso, but I've been stepped on by some heavy dogs. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. Um, Hell, even Goose sometimes she gets a little wound up. I'm egging her on, and she'll start running around, running around. Sometimes she'll run past me, and her paw will hit my foot, and even her, it's like, oh god damn, it hurt, you know. But she's a beefy little thing, so I mean, she's got to be 45, 50 pounds. I don't know. So yeah, it doesn't feel good. All right, guys. OT, man, good talk. Appreciate you joining. Ryan, if you're still here, appreciate you joining, man. Thanks, everybody. I'm sure we'll do another one tomorrow. Haven't decided what I'm going to talk about yet, but oh, damn, I bet that hurt like a motherfucker. Ran you over. I bet that wasn't too hard. Yeah, for sure. For sure, OT. All right, guys. Have a great night. I will see you all soon. Thank you again for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. You guys take care.